The defiant duel. The roars of laughter from the alien crowd echoed through the Grand Colosseum as the scrawny human, Ethan Cole, was thrust into the fighting pit. His presence was met with derision and scorn from the towering Zeltrons, their deep blue skin and 4 muscular arms creating a stark contrast to Ethan's lean 5'8" frame. The Zeltrons, known for their immense strength and advanced technology, considered themselves the pinnacle of evolution, and the sight of the frail human only fueled their mocking. Ethan, a 30-year-old Earth soldier with a reputation for his intellect and resourcefulness, stood firm despite the ridicule. He had come as part of a diplomatic mission, aimed at establishing a peace treaty with the Zeltrons. However, during the ceremonial banquet the night before, the Zeltron commander, Sailor, had mocked humanity's supposed physical weaknesses. To add insult to injury, Sailor had challenged Ethan to a public fight, promising that if Ethan could land a single blow, the Zeltrons would reconsider their view of Earth's people. The implication was clear. Failure would result in humanity being dismissed as irrelevant. The Zeltrons, hungry for entertainment, placed bets on how long it would take for Xelor to dispatch the human. Unfazed, Ethan tapped a hidden control on his wrist. Beneath his unassuming uniform, the concealed power armor began to activate. This armor was the pinnacle of human engineering, a closely guarded secret that transformed Ethan's body into a formidable combat machine. Ethan's muscles strengthened, and a second skin of unbreakable alloy formed over him. His eyes were soon covered by a heads-up display, offering real-time analysis of his surroundings. With a determined glare at Sailor, he uttered, "Let's dance." 20 years prior, in a top-secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, scientists led by Dr. Amelia Chen had made a revolutionary breakthrough. They developed a substance known as smart fluid, a silvery liquid with billions of microscopic nanomachines. When electrified, this fluid could solidify into any shape or density. The potential was staggering. It could transform a simple uniform into an indestructible exoskeleton. This new technology was intended to be humanity's secret weapon, hidden from the galaxy's view. In the arena, Sailor charged, his powerful limbs propelling him forward. Ethan's enhanced reflexes, courtesy of the smart fluid, allowed him to perceive Sailor's movements in slow motion. As Sailor's massive fist hurtled toward him, Ethan evaded the blow with ease and retaliated with a devastating punch. The impact shattered Sailor's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. The arena fell silent, stunned by the sheer force of the blow. Zeltron guards rushed in, their weapons crackling with energy. Ethan's armor, designed for agility and precision, allowed him to dispatch them effortlessly. More Zeltrons swarmed into the pit, but Ethan's enhanced speed and strength turned the battle in his favor. Within moments, he stood alone amidst the fallen bodies of the Zeltron warriors, his armor gleaming with victory. Sailor, now bruised and bewildered, staggered to his feet, his fear palpable. Ethan, however, was undeterred. With a cold voice, Captain Andrea, the head of the human delegation, declared, "This is not sorcery, Sailor. It's human ingenuity, something you underestimated." As the human delegation activated their own power armor, the message was clear. Humanity was done with pretense. The Zeltrons would have to face the reality of Earth's hidden power. The siege begins. 3 months had passed since Ethan Cole's dramatic victory in the Zeltron Colosseum. The encounter had dramatically shifted the balance of power, and the once dismissive Zeltrons now viewed humanity with a mix of fear and respect. The Zeltron High Council, anxious and alarmed by humanity's secret technology, escalated their aggression, demanding the surrender of the power armor technology. Captain Andrea, resolute in her stance, refused every ultimatum, reinforcing that the armor was not a bargaining chip. The Zeltrons responded by placing the human embassy under a severe blockade. The compound was surrounded by Zeltron forces, and supplies were choked off. The humans, now confined to dwindling rations, felt the strain of isolation. Tempers flared as the embassy's once hopeful environment turned into a claustrophobic prison. Inside the dimly lit armory, Ethan was engrossed in maintaining his power armor. The smart fluid needed regular cleaning and recalibration to ensure optimal performance. As he worked, Captain Andrea entered, her face etched with concern. "We have a situation," she said tersely. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive Zultron fleet gathering at the edge of the system. They're preparing for a full-scale invasion of Earth." Ethan's heart sank. "How long before they arrive?" "At their current pace, they'll reach Earth in about 3 weeks," Andrea responded. "I've sent an emergency transmission to UNSC Command, but even our fastest ships will take at least a month to arrive. We're on our own." Ethan nodded, his mind racing through the possible scenarios. "What are your orders, Captain?" Andrea's jaw tightened with resolve. "I'm placing you in charge of the embassy's defense. Fortify our perimeter and set up whatever traps and choke points you can. I'll oversee the delegation's transfer to the safe room. If the Zultrons breach our defenses, it's up to you to hold them off until help arrives." Ethan saluted sharply. "Understood. I'll make sure we're ready for whatever they throw at us." In the following days, Ethan worked tirelessly, converting the embassy's furnishings into barricades and repurposing everyday items into makeshift explosives. He set up a network of sensors and traps throughout the compound. Exhausted but determined, Ethan continued his preparations, driven by the urgency of their situation. Just as he completed the final touches on a particularly devious tripwire trap, a shrill alarm cut through the silence. Ethan's blood ran cold as the perimeter breach alert blared. The Zultrons had begun their assault. The battle for survival. Ethan sprinted to the armory, barking orders to the delegation to lock themselves in the safe room. As he donned his power armor, the smart fluid enveloped him, solidifying into a robust exoskeleton. His HUD flickered to life, displaying tactical data and highlighting enemy positions. He raced down the corridor, the armored boots thudding heavily against the floor. Rounding a corner, he came face to face with a squad of Zultron shock troopers, led by the malevolent Commander Exhaler. The commander's eyes burned with a mixture of fury and anticipation. "Take him alive," Sealer ordered, pointing a commanding finger at Ethan. "The High Council wants that armor dissected." Ethan's grin was fierce behind his visor. "Come and get me, you overgrown cockroaches." The corridor erupted into chaos as the Zultrons charged. The confined space limited Ethan's maneuverability, but he relied on his traps and the cunning he had used to set them. Plasma bolts whizzed past him as he ducked and dodged, drawing the Zultrons deeper into his trap-laden maze. A Zultron trooper tripped a nearly invisible wire, triggering an improvised mine. The explosion was deafening, sending shrapnel and fire through the corridor. Ethan moved swiftly through the smoke, the armor's filters purifying the air. He paused at an intersection, listening intently. Heavy footsteps echoed from the left passage. With a quick thought, Ethan activated a remote detonator, setting off a series of shaped charges. The resulting explosion brought tons of metal crashing down, blocking the corridor and trapping the Zultrons within. Ethan's tactical awareness and preparation were paying off as he continued to fight off the invading forces. Unyielding defense. With the corridor sealed, Ethan pressed on through the embassy's labyrinthine hallways. The Zultrons, now trapped and disoriented, continued their assault from behind the barricades and debris. Ethan's enhanced senses and reflexes allowed him to navigate through the chaos with precision. He moved through the smoke-filled corridors, dispatching Zultron troopers with surgical efficiency. His power armor's advanced targeting system guided his strikes, making each blow count. Despite the overwhelming numbers, Ethan's tactical advantage and preparation gave him the upper hand. As the battle raged, the remaining Zultron forces attempted to breach the embassy's inner defenses. Ethan's traps continued to wreak havoc, slowing their advance and buying precious time. The sound of clashing weapons and alien screeches filled the air, but Ethan remained focused on his mission. In a brief lull between waves of attackers, Ethan took a moment to assess the situation. His HUD displayed the status of the remaining traps and defenses. The Zultrons were relentless, But Ethan's determination and ingenuity were holding them at bay. Captain Andrea's voice crackled through his comms. "How's it looking, Ethan?" "We're holding our own," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "But they're not giving up. I'll keep fighting as long as I can." The battle continued, with Ethan's strategic placement of traps and his superior combat skills ensuring that the Zeltrons were unable to breach the embassy's core defenses. The relentless conflict showcased not only the power of humanity's technology, but also the resilience and courage of its defenders. The turning tide. As the battle dragged on, Ethan's energy reserves began to wane. The relentless assault and constant combat were taking their toll, but he refused to relent. The Zeltrons, growing increasingly frustrated, intensified their efforts. Their tactics became more desperate as they tried to breach Ethan's defenses. In a pivotal moment, Ethan's HUD flashed with a critical alert. The Zeltrons were attempting a coordinated assault on the remaining weak points of the embassy. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Ethan quickly adjusted his strategy. He redirected his remaining traps and reinforced the most vulnerable areas. The intense fighting continued, with Ethan maneuvering through the embattled corridors, using every ounce of his remaining strength and skill. His power armor, though battered, proved resilient against the Zeltrons' relentless onslaught. Each clash and skirmish only fueled his determination to protect the embassy and its occupants. Despite the overwhelming odds, Ethan's tactics began to turn the tide. The Zeltrons, frustrated by their inability to breach the defenses, started to retreat. Ethan's unyielding defense and strategic prowess had managed to push them back, if only temporarily. Captain Andrea's voice came through the comms again. "Ethan, we've received word that reinforcements are on their way. Hold your position just a little longer." Ethan's resolve hardened. "Understood. I'll keep them at bay." With renewed determination, Ethan continued to defend the embassy, using every resource and strategy at his disposal. The Zeltrons' assault began to falter as their forces were repelled. The tide of battle was turning in humanity's favor. The final stand. The arrival of reinforcements was a welcome relief for Ethan and the beleaguered human defenders. The sight of fresh troops and additional firepower bolstered their morale. The Zeltrons, realizing their invasion was faltering, became increasingly desperate. Ethan, now relieved of some of the pressure, coordinated with the incoming forces. His experience and knowledge of the embassy's defenses were invaluable in organizing a counteroffensive. The combined efforts of the human soldiers and their newly arrived allies began to push the Zeltrons back. The final stages of the battle were intense. The Zeltrons, once confident in their superiority, were now faced with a determined and well-prepared defense. Ethan's tactical acumen and the strength of humanity's technology proved to be a formidable combination. As the Zeltrons' forces were driven back, the embassy began to breathe easier. The once sealed corridors now echoed with the sounds of victory. The invaders, demoralized and defeated, retreated from the compound. Ethan, exhausted but triumphant, surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The embassy had withstood the siege, and humanity's strength and resilience had been demonstrated to the galaxy. The Zeltrons had learned a valuable lesson about underestimating the resolve of Earth's defenders. Captain Andrea approached Ethan, her expression a mix of relief and pride. "You did it, Ethan. The embassy is safe, and the Zeltrons have been repelled. We owe our survival to your bravery and ingenuity." Ethan nodded, a weary smile on his face. It was a team effort. We stood together and showed them what humanity is capable of. With the immediate threat averted, the human delegation began to regroup and assess the damage. The battle had been hard fought, but it had also solidified humanity's place in the galaxy. The Zeltrons had learned that Earth was not to be underestimated, and the future held new possibilities for diplomacy and cooperation. A new dawn. In the wake of the battle, the Zeltron High Council convened to reassess their position. The failed invasion had been a significant blow to their pride and strategic plans. The humans had demonstrated their strength and resilience, and the Zultrons were forced to reconsider their approach. Captain Andrea and Ethan, along with the rest of the human delegation, worked to rebuild and strengthen diplomatic ties. The embassy, though scared from the conflict, became a symbol of humanity's determination and capability. The Zultrons, now more cautious, approached negotiations with a newfound respect for Earth's power. As peace talks progressed, both sides began to explore avenues for cooperation. The Zultrons, impressed by humanity's ingenuity and strength, sought to establish more meaningful and mutually beneficial relations. The once hostile atmosphere gave way to dialogue and collaboration. Ethan, reflecting on the events, felt a sense of accomplishment and hope. The battle had been a trial by fire, but it had also forged a stronger bond between humanity and the Zultrons. The future now held the promise of new alliances and opportunities. With the immediate threat behind them, Ethan and his team looked forward to a new chapter in their interstellar relations. The struggle for survival had been a testament to humanity's spirit and innovation. As they moved forward, the lessons learned from the conflict would guide their path toward a brighter and more collaborative future.